Okay, we got, as you can see, we've got quite a few new things in today. Let's start with, we got, actually we got these in last week. We got the new shipment of Crab's Adjust Humidity, which basically is an unofficial expansion for Cards Against Humanity. And there's also a the Iron Claw, I think it's called, expansion, which has all the expansions in it. Here, I can show you that in a second. But we do have like the t-shirts we just got in. We got some small and some large. Just we want some wacky t-shirts. We got those. But we got, let me show you the Crab's Adjust Humidity. Like I said, it's like basically an unofficial expansion for that. They're all kosher about it and everything. They're just basically have an open license, so as long as you don't copy their cards, even Cards Against Humanity even has like a print and play on their website. But I keep hearing like the people that are coming in talking about this that have already played it. They have felt like it take it a little further than what Cards Against Humanity was. So if you want a little bit more edge to your game, that might be an option. See, the Iron Claw, the Omni Claw, not Iron Claw, the Omni Claw edition basically is all 5 expansions of Crab's Adjust Humidity. So if you already have Cards Against Humanity, you just get one of these expansions, or if you know you're going to get them all anyway, which that type of game, you're pretty much going to get more expansions, because once the humor cards start repeating, the humor starts repeating. So if you want to save some money, you know you're going to play this for the long hauls, like you might as well go for the big one. And just so you can see, you see the cards are very similar to the Cards Against Humanity. The font's different, of course, but so they can actually mix and match real easily in there. This one here is actually the blanks. So you can actually create your own cards. Has like several black and a bunch of whites in there. Cards, 58 cards, 38 white, 18 black. No humor included, blanks only. So that's that. So if you want to make your own, make it a little more personalized, that's an option. Even if you only get the regular, any other expansions, that's a real handy one to have the blanks. And let's see, we're back over here. And we got Jenga Throw and Go. This is a real nice version. Has like, as it says, it has a precision wood crafted, so it's a higher quality than what you see in the Hasbro version that you might see. Plus it has a little dice just for a variety of play. It has like colored blocks, so you roll the dice and you do what the dice says and pull whatever it says to pull out. So it adds a little more variety on how to play. It makes it a little more interesting. And we also got a good supply of Rubik's Cubes back in. I'll probably show more of our other puzzles later on next week or two, because we do have quite a few variety of that style of puzzles. I want to call them puzzle cubes, but as you can see, not all of them are cubes. That one's round. So I'll show you those next time when we got some more coming in. And see, we got legendary encounters in. There's the Marvel one, which most people are familiar with, but we also just got in the base game for the Aliens version. A lot of people are keep talking about this. A lot of people are saying that it's better, but I think some people like the Marvel superhero theme, but a lot of people are really liking this version. So basically, it's a deck building game. You're working together. You're trying to defeat the scenario, and you have all these cards coming out, aliens coming out, that sort of thing. So that one's been real popular. And let's talk about more deck building. We've been building up our Ascension expansions and such. We get the main game in. This is pretty much one of the more popular deck building games, after Dominion. A lot of people that play Dominion a lot, they're playing the Ascensions a lot more now. So, they kind of moved on to this one. So if you're interested in deck building type games, this is probably a good one, especially if you played Dominion a lot already. So we got the Dreamscape expansion in. We got the Dawn of Champions and the Realms Unraveled. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, and the Immortal Heroes. We'll be getting some more in as they become available to us. And we also got Bang the Bullet. Basically, Bang It's like the Old West theme, and everybody knows who the sheriff is, but everybody doesn't know who the outlaws are or whoever everybody else is. So you're basically running around shooting each other, trying to figure out who's who and why they're shooting each other. The bullet version basically has the base game plus 3 expansions, and see if this camera's going to pull them up. And it's just a really, really cool container. So if you already have the main game, you don't necessarily need that. But if you're just starting out trying to get the whole thing, it's a really cool way to go. You get a bunch of expansions and you're off and running. And so you got Space Cadets back in. Basically think of this as like Star Trek The Enterprise, the game. You're like members of you're on a starship, and each person has their own little mini game they have to play in order to defeat whatever scenario you're having to do. You could be the captain, the engineer. You could be, running the shields, the tractor beams. Basically be Sulu. You could be Chekhov. You could be, Scotty. That whole 9 yards. So, effectively, it's what it is. So that one's a really cool, really unique game. There's the small learning curve because there's a bunch of mini games involved. But each one is pretty simple on how to play it. So it's not that big a deal. Let's see what else we got. We got Dixit expansions in. We got Dixit Memories. If you're not familiar with Dixit, basically it's a game where you're playing out these weird looking artwork cards, really cool looking artwork cards. But you're trying to, and you give a verbal clue, but you don't want to give a clue that's too easy, because when it comes to voting on which one's which, you don't want everybody guessing on yours. You want some people, but not everybody, because if you get everybody to guess yours, you end up getting no points and everybody else gets points. So basically, you're trying to give a clue that's easy, but not too easy, so everybody doesn't get. So we've got several of the expansions in. We got the Memories one, got the Daydreams one, and the Origins one. We have a couple other expansions already in stock already. So, and we got Smash Up Big Geeky Box in. Basically, it's a storage box, plus it has one geeky faction, the Geek faction specifically. And we also got the obligatory Cthulhu expansion set. Smash Up basically is a game where, say like you got zombies and you got pirates, you put them together, now you're zombie pirates, and you're all like competing, trying to defeat these little bases, and whoever gets the most, typically we get the most points when that base pops. So it's a real popular one, and a lot of people are really liking it. See, Lost Cities we got back in. It's probably one of the most popular 2-player games. Has a real solid reputation. It's kind of a solitaire type of game, but a lot more going on, a lot more thinking, a lot more strategic decisions going on, even though it's a card-based game. And see, we got a X-Wing game in. We got quite a few X-Wing games and models and minis and such. Basically, it's, if you're not familiar with it, X-Wing is a Star Wars combat game. So think of a dog pilot type game. You play on your tabletop. You don't have to play on a map or anything like that. You just play right on your tabletop the way it works. And it's real simple, real accessible, and they look really, really detailed. They're really cool the way they do the ships. And see what else we got. We got a lot, so we got a lot to go through. Got One Night Werewolf Daybreak. This is an expansion and a standalone. So you can play this out of the box by itself, or you can combine it with the original One Night Werewolf. Basically, it's what we call a social deduction type game. You're trying to figure out who the werewolves are. And in this version of the One Night versions, basically there's no player elimination. So everybody's in one round and plays really, really quick. And you're just trying to figure out who's who. And it's a real popular one. So there's also regular werewolf. Got a few different versions of it. Got this one is like the real nice deluxe version. This one does have player elimination. You got you're trying to figure out who the werewolves are, and each round someone's like trying to kill the werewolves to decide who to kill off. There is a moderator in this, so there's one person that's always like sitting out, kind of moderating what's going on. So there's that, and we also got this one just in recently. This one's been around for quite a while, but it's like it's a real basic version of the werewolf style game. It also, if you're familiar with Mafia, it works the same type of thing. In this version, all there are is werewolves and villagers and the seer. The seer knows who the werewolves are, and that sort of thing. You try to give clues, but not be too obvious, or the werewolves will take you out. Anyway, that's a real inexpensive one. It's like $9.99. The other ones are $24.99, and there's some basic ones that are start at $14. As I knock everything down, $14.99. That's like the basic of the nicer versions. So there's a little more rules, but it's a real good one just for inexpensive party type game. You get lots and lots of people playing that one. And see where to leave off over here. Lost Cities, Daybreak. Got Blink back in. It's a real fast-paced, basically a pattern matching type of game by the makers of Uno. So that's a real fast-paced, real simple, easy to play game. You can pretty much get everyone involved. We got Quirkle expansion boards back in. If you have Quirkle, you could get this, and it adds a little variety, two different ways to play, two more different ways to play. So you actually play on these different boards. There's also something, I don't know if I could see it down there. It's Quirkle Trio. Yeah, kind of see it. Basically, Quirkle Trio is this expansion board with Quirkle included. So if you don't have Quirkle at all and you're interested in these expansions, might as well get Quirkle Trio. So since you're getting both, you save a little bit of money doing that. And we also got Resistance and Avalon. Again, these are like social deduction type games. These are both real easy or great party type of game. And we also got Dead Man Tales back in. It's a cooperative game where you're pirates and you're trying to get treasure off this burning ship. I haven't played this yet. I have it in my collection, but I haven't really played it yet. But I heard people comparing it to like a Pandemic, except it's pirates on a ship. So if that makes any sense to you, that'd be a interesting one to try. Got Timeline, the movie and cinema. These are real popular. They have a lot of educators that come in and actually buy some of these. Not necessarily the movie and cinema, but the history ones and such. Basically, you lay out these cards and try to figure out, lay them out and put them in the right order, which came first, type of thing. But it's a real popular type game. This one I don't know much about. I had a customer come in and tell me about it, but as you can see, it's a dinky old game, so that kind of caught my interest, and I'm probably getting more of these type of things because I really like the idea of these tiny little micro games. We do have a few other ones. Trying to get low on some of them. I see these are pretty small as well. It's got a whole bunch of these tiny little micro games. Like they're $6.99, and there's like a lot of these are just a ton of little games. A lot of gaming with such a small little box. So it has another run that's going on Kickstarter pretty soon. So if it hasn't already, I just saw an announcement he was working on it. But yeah, he's working on another line of those. And where are we? We're over here. And so you got some more these huge polyhedron sets of dice, and they're nice, huge size. It's great for a game master type, because a game master needs at least one set of intimidating dice to scare people. And see, we got Bonanza. This one's I consider this to be a modern classic for a card game. It's all about planting coffee beans. What's one of the more unique things about this game is, like, when you draw a card, you have to keep them in the order you drew them on. And when you play them out, you're actually there's a lot of negotiation and trading and things like that going on. So that one's a really great game. They came out with they have a couple expansions for it as well. Got the Princes and Pirates expansion. These are both expansions for it, so you have to have the base game. The Princes one, you have the Bonanza Ladies or the original one, or the Pirates one. You have to have the Bonanza version. That the Ladies ones they're talking about is this one right here. The Ladies one's actually a standalone game. So these you can play right out of the box. I believe the Gangsters ones as well, because it doesn't really say expansions. So you can play those right out of the box. The difference is, if you're familiar with Bonanza already, it's like the ladies versions, like the lady beans are worth more points. So that's the big differences. And finally, we got Shadows of Brimstone back in, and got at least one of the expansions in. We got the Swamps of Death, and we also got City of Ancients in. On these ones, these are typically for such as retail prices like $99.99, but we have ours because of online pricing and such. We kind of to give some of our higher price games a little bit of a price break. So this is actually a $74.99 game. So it's another one that's in that same price range, and actually same company actually. It's Fortune and Glory. Also got a Twilight Imperium that's kind of marked down. Let's see, $89.99 down to $71.99. So some of our higher price games we are trying to mark down so they're a little more accessible. And as you can see, we actually got a second one of those because I'm buying one of these guys. And if I put the camera up here without dropping it, let's see if we can show you what's inside because I already popped it open. Let's see. There we go. As you see, it's like a huge box. Well, first, if you look at the back of the box, they look like what looks to be painted figures, but if you look close on the box, it does say models supplied or unassembled and unpainted. So that's just an example of what the models could look like if you actually paint them. So it's not actually going to look like that when you get them out of the box. So just be aware of that. But let's see, a lot of stuff. So there we go. That's the very unassembled models, the minis, or whatever you want to call them. Or one guy calls them dolls, and it's just weird. And let's see, and if you can see those, but yeah, they'll just pop out, and you have these little bases that they'll stick in. So yeah, there is some assembly required. You know, some more so than others. Like this one's not going to be so bad. Well, it looks like it has a separate arm on there. So yeah, there's a little bit of assembly, but that's not a big deal. This is a really cool Old West. Basically, it's an Old West horror mixed with horror type game. So it's a really cool mix of ideas. Just like the basic rule books. The rule book and his adventure book. And it has map tiles. I'll show you those in a second. And hero cards. It's a pretty big book, but it's pretty graphic and as far as like a large amount of imagery to help understand how the game works. So even though it's a lot of pages, it's probably not as intimidating as it looks like it could be. But at the same time, it is like a 35-page book, so there is a small bit of learning curve that goes along with that. And so you've got some of the character cards there. And here's the adventure book. I'm sure there's spoilers in here, so I'm not really going to show a whole lot in there because it's a bit of scenario driven. And this is a cooperative type game. Here's some of the other characters there. Again, Bandita, the piano player, U.S. Marshal, cute Marshal, and of course you got the monsters. Are these double-sided? Yeah, they are double-sided, so there's actually more on each one. So then you got all the monsters. It's very Cthulhu-esque. You got the Tatarga pylons, void spiders, brutal stranglers, and a bunch more. Let's see. And of course you got the cards. They're unwrapped right now. Let's see if I can unwrap them without breaking everything. Oh, I wish more companies had what I call cigarette technology. You know, cigarette type packs where you just pull the little string and it all comes out. It makes it a lot easier. Anyways, we got the encounter cards, artifact cards, and more artifact cards, personal items. Yeah, this is basically very much of a role-playing game in a box type of scenario, type of a game. So a little item, gain one tonic, get one tonic token. Okay. Anyway, that's that. And of course, this is all tile driven, and of course they have the obligatory CD, because it's Flying Frog Productions. They always try to make their games almost like a film production, especially their Last Night on Earth series. Looks like a B-zombie movie. So it's the same type of ideas. I won't bother showing you the rest of these cards. So take a bit too much time. I'll get to the tiles. These gear cards. And there's dice. When I first opened this, I was like, where are the tiles? But looks like they hit them on here down the bottom. There's a lot. See how thick and tiles these are. And of course, always keep in mind these bags are not a toy. I'm not sure whoever confused that. Do not store these bags like babies and cribs, because they'll play with them and suffocate and stuff. So let's always odd warnings, like who's going to say, here baby, have a bag, it's fun to play with. Anyway, here's all the tiles. Oh man, get them out of here. There's a lot. And we'll be getting more of these expansions for this game range, these type of games too. So you see there's like real detailed looking tiles. So really cool looking, real glossy. Let's see, there's quite a few of them. So if you like Old West and you like horror games, wow, there's going to be a lot of punching, so we'll be spending a good 30 minutes at least punching all these out. Speaking of which, if you're punching all these things out, and what I always do games like this where they're real heavy on the little tokens, and if they all get mixed up, it turns into real pain. There's several different ways to store these things. One of the main ways I do is like these little Ziploc type bags. You got these 6x8 Ziplocs, 4x6s, and 3x5s. But these have like the right-on white block, so you can label exactly what's on there. What's great about that is you can write what's actually in there. So when you go to put everything away, everybody knows where everything goes, and that the owner of the game is not being stuck, being the one that's putting away because they know where everything goes. The other option are these little holders, little bit holders. These are some Arkham Horror tokens, and work really well. I did this with my Wiz War game. I threw out the tokens, throughout the insert, and it's used nothing but those. And the last thing I do for cards, I use this static tape. It goes around and it holds everything in place. Okay, while I'm losing my voice, we'll just say, we'll talk to you next time. Bye.